All right. That is a better clap. Hi, welcome back. Today I'm gonna be talking about when to quit and when to stick. My husband actually is the one who helped me figure out what I was gonna make this video about today because it's something we've been talking about a lot the last few weeks. I don't know about you, but for me personally, I hate quitting. It's like a huge identifying factor for me is my ability to persevere. One thing that I noticed that particularly stuck out about me is that I will not quit. I hate quitting. Persevering, getting to the finish line, no matter what the cost. Didn't matter how many all-nighters, it didn't matter how many hours of work, it didn't matter what I needed to do. I was gonna get to the finish line and I was gonna do the best that I could. And that really defined me and still defines me, and it can be really bad in a lot of ways. This is kind of a sidebar. One of the things that came to my mind when I was like reflecting and prepping for this video was that my desire to constantly get to the finish line of things, I'll avoid doing things that I really want to do or I really want to try out if I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to make it to the finish line. And how limiting is that? How horrible. It was like this huge epiphany today when I was taking notes and I was like, wow, oh my gosh. There's a fear of failure, you know, that makes us not, you know, start things that we want to start. But there's that also this fear of, it's not even necessarily failing because, you know, I can get back up and try again. It's if I'm really not sure if I'm gonna be the best at it. And because if I'm not sure if I'm not gonna be the best at something, then I tell myself that I shouldn't try. And that is horrible. So I hope that this video like triggers some epiphanies for you in terms of like your thought process and how you go about starting or stopping things. With that being said, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I have had to deal with this experience very recently of needing to quit and wondering if I should quit. And it was a painfully difficult decision because, to give you some context, I have been taking on new clients, as I said in my last video, and I've been working full time. However, having my life be in a different place than it was 2 years ago, being married and having a child, my priorities have shifted and my values have shifted. And I felt that keeping up this full-time schedule was still good for me because I was helping us reach our financial goals quicker. And I was really excited about that. We both were. It just wasn't feeling right. You know, doing the work that I was doing and the amount that I was doing, it just was bugging me. Not from a I'm really tired level, but from a I don't feel like I should be here. It just didn't feel like the right fit for me. And I mean, I know that we all experience this like point of discomfort where when we start something, we are not sure if we should just push through or if we should leave, or, you know, I'm always worried that if I feel like quitting, if it's just because I'm feeling uncomfortable. And I know that, you know, a lot of growth comes after pushing past that discomfort. So it's a really hard balance. Like, you really gotta like dig deep and figure out what your motivations are, what you're trying to get out of something in order to figure out whether to quit or whether to stick. And so I'm hoping by the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how to do that, because I'm sure in your own life, you have a lot of things that you're doing and you're pouring yourself into and you're not sure if you should quit or you should stick. And maybe you're that person who's an overachiever who tries to do everything like me, or maybe you're that person that is kind of a serial quitter and, you know, starts things and stops things all too quickly, and you never get to a point of seeing any fruition and you're not sure what you want to do with your life because you never really stick it out with something long enough to see if you really enjoy it. Anyway, I started to look back at a book that I read back in 2013 when I was in college. It's called The Dip by Seth Godin. It's right here. It is a really great book. It's very short, so really quick, easy read. Maybe consider starting your new year off with this book. I'm definitely gonna be rereading it. Seth Godin is a boss. He is a best-selling author of The Purple Cow, Small is the New Big, and a slew of other books. Obviously, again, not sponsored. If I'm ever going to be sponsored, maybe one day in the future, you will know, I will tell you. I wanted to shout out Seth Godin in this book because it really helps me kind of put in a nutshell the few kind of guide points that you can look at in determining whether you should quit or you should stick. To go back to my personal experience, I did decide to quit something that I was having a really hard time determining what I should do. And I think the bottom line was a few things. Number one, sticking with this job that I had was not in line with my values. And this is one thing that we're going to get into is your top 3 values. What are your values? Because for me, life is just getting even more complicated. I thought it was difficult in college, and no, it's just getting more complicated. And I'm sure it's just going to keep getting more challenging as we go through life. So the thing that really helps me when I'm faced with something difficult and I'm just so in the weeds and my brain's so fogged that I can't figure out what even to go at first, especially if you struggle with anxiety or depression. It's just sometimes your brain is just like completely crap. Like you just can't think. I have my values written down, and I'm gonna actually try to write them nicely and frame them so that I will always have them in front of me. Because if you're struggling with something difficult, if it's not in line with your values, that is the first sign that you probably shouldn't be doing it at all. To give you some insight, my 3 values are simplicity, freedom, and fulfillment. Simplicity being, in general, I want my life to be as simple as possible. To give an example, I don't ever want to be driving like multiple hours a day to and from work. Like for me, time is extremely valuable, and the simplicity of not having to drive too far to get to work, or being able to work from home, which I'm blessed to be able to do, that is a simplicity that I crave and I will always strive for. Number 2 being freedom. That means to be able to pursue the things that I really am passionate about and to spend my time how I see fit. And then number 3, fulfillment, is to be able to do work and live out my purpose for God and for others. I think all of us deep down know what we're put here on this earth to do. And I think that a lot of these things that we're doing that kind of exhaust us are blinding us from seeing what that real purpose is. Those are my 3 values, and I'm giving you those examples and telling you what they are because this job that I had was not simple. It did not give me much freedom. I was constantly at the beck and call of the job, and whether it was Sunday night or Saturday morning, it didn't matter if I was with my family or with my friends. It was like I was always stopping to have to work on this thing. It wasn't the first time that this had happened, and so I just felt like, okay, this is not simple. This is not giving me freedom, and it doesn't feel fulfilling because I know that the work that I was doing isn't work that I really feel called to do. What I really feel called to do is to just help people through this channel, through blogging and writing books. And what I noticed is that when I was like pouring 45 hours a week into all these different clients, that I wasn't even aware anymore of my day. It was so sad. I wouldn't even know what day it was. Last week I told you about my work from home mom tips. I still think that they're useful because I did do the work from home thing for full time for 2 months. I will still be working from home part-time now so that I can have an awareness of where I'm going, what I want, how I feel, and not waste the precious time that I've been given doing things that just don't fulfill me. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'm gonna try to take all of this stuff that I'm gonna talk about today, put it into a basic 1-sheet printable so that you can be prompted through the process of figuring out what you're gonna stick to and what you're gonna quit. One of the things I realize is, yeah, we can set all these goals and try to do all these things and dream up all this stuff for 2018, but I think that the other half of that coin is knowing what you're gonna quit, because you can't just keep adding on things to your to-do list. I mean, how many of us have created a mile-long to-do list, adding 10 more things every day as if that's gonna help me be productive, and then I just end up losing the to-do list because there's so much on it, and I just stopped paying attention to it because it was overwhelming. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that setting New Year's goals is important, but it's just as important as knowing what you're gonna remove from your life, because you can't do everything. You can't do everything. And when it comes to quitting something, the reason why I stuck out something that this gig that I should have quit honestly a long time ago is because honestly, ego, me feeling like I'm not a quitter and that failures are quitters. And what I love about the Dip, the Seth Godin book that I was showing you, is the first line, like literally like the first or second sentence in the book is, winners quit all the time. They just quit the right stuff at the right time. And I thought that was so interesting because he talks about strategic quitting. And it made me realize that it's not about whether I could stick it out, because I probably could. That wasn't the point. I was like, Mia, really? You're making this a test of will and determination? Like, that's not the point. It's not about whether you can quit or could stick it out. It's whether you should stick it out. And when I asked myself, when I changed the question from can you do it to should you do it, That's when things became very clear to me. The answer was no. No, you shouldn't. And maybe I needed to get to a point of recognizing that that's an insecurity that I have, constantly wanting my self-beliefs to be validated, being confident that I know who I am and I know I'm not a quitter, and then realizing that I don't need to hold on to this job just to validate that belief. Like, I can believe in myself without this job. Does that make sense? I just want this video to kind of help trigger those epiphanies for you and help you gain a self-awareness, I guess. I watched this like hour-long interview of Oprah. She was being interviewed at Stanford, and one of the main things that she distills literally all her success down to is her ability to be aware. She's like, if you don't know what you're feeling or where you're going or where you are, you're lost and you're just on autopilot. And then on top of that, if you're running yourself into the ground at 45 hours a week working, and then you're a mom on top of that, you're not gonna have any time to be self-aware. Essentially what I'm saying is, because I was spending myself doing things that I didn't wanna do, I wasn't able to really be here for you guys and for my family and for myself. Seth Godin talks about these two things. He talks about the dip, which he says is the slog between start and mastery. So there are things like, for instance, starting this vlog, where I was super duper scared to start. And then even after starting, it's gonna be a long time, I think, before I get really good at it. And every time I make a video, I'm like super nervous that I'm like not doing a great job, but it's like you do it anyway, even though you're uncomfortable, because you care about doing it and you know you're gonna get to that point where you're good at it and you're on a roll, kind of a thing. And then he talks about the cul-de-sac, which is the dead end, the thing that you're doing and pouring your time, money, and energy into, but it's not really giving you any returns. It's not relating to your values, it's not relating to your ultimate goals and how you wanna be fulfilled in life. And if you don't quit that, you're never gonna be able to take the time, money, and energy and pour it into the thing that you really do care about. If you're experiencing the dip, he says keep going, because that's the kind of like the gap between starting and becoming the best in the world at whatever you wanna be the best in the world at. But if you're in a job or a gig or a relationship or anything where you know it's really not where you wanna be, staying in it is keeping you from doing the things that you really want to do. Those two ideas are kind of like the core of the first chapter of the book, and I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because for me, it really helped me identify what are the cul-de-sacs in my life and what are the things that I may be in a dip and I just need to push through in order to get to where I really want to get to. Because I think a lot of us get discouraged when we're in the dip. We don't like how it feels. And he says, you know, it's fine not to like how it feels. You don't have to be happy in the dip, but you just have to know when you are in the dip. You have to know you're not failing at something that you really love. You're just in the dip, and you just got to keep pushing through. You got to keep trucking, got to be consistent and work hard, and you'll get there. So I'm going to try to take some of those principles of the cul-de-sac, the dip, and the 3 values and try to give you something in a printable that'll help you do this exercise. When you decide to quit, realize what you're going to rededicate yourself to. The printable will be linked in this description. The dip will also be linked in the description as well. Please reach out with any questions. My hope for you and for 2018 is that we're not only gonna figure out what we're gonna stick to, but we're gonna figure out what we're gonna quit, so that we can actually spend that time on the things that we care about, because we're only human, we can't do everything. And especially if you have little kids or whatever and you have other responsibilities, it's important for us to like focus in on what we really care about so that we can actually achieve things in 2018. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe.